3, 2, 1.
Asha!
I'm here. Whew, just 1 second. Let me catch my breath. Once upon a time stood Rosas, a most magical kingdom, founded by a king with the power to grant wishes.
You are their handsomest, most beloved king.
You're right. I am a handsome king.
I'm so nervous, I think I'm going to explode.
My best friend, the king's apprentice.
My mouth drooping? I feel like it's drooping.
Asha, come with me. The wishes of Rosas.
Whoa.
People give their wishes to me, and I grant the wishes I am sure are good for Rosas.
Some of these will never be granted.
Not some, most.
They deserve more than...
I decide.
What everyone deserves.
So I look up at the stars to guide me
I wish.
and throw caution to every warning sign.
Oh, you spoil us with your magic.
I didn't do it.
What?
Last night, I made a wish on a star. And the star answered.
I'm talking. I am talking. Ha! Who knew my voice would be this low?
I believe I have just been threatened.
Who would dare threaten you?
I have no response to that.
So I look up at
There is a traitor amongst us. Find Asha.
caution to every
It's a dead end.
With unsanded mahogany.
Oh, good find, Valentino.
My butt found it.
I started this. I have to finish it.
So I make this wish.
What are you hiding?
Nothing. And nobody.
What is going on in there?
Okay, ladies! Your wings can't fly, but your voices can!
The Kingdom of Roses was a sight to behold, a jewel perched between the sapphire sea and the emerald mountains. Its cobblestone streets wound like ribbons through hills of olive groves and vineyards, all leading to the heart of the realm, the gleaming, pearlescent palace of King Magnifico. From his tallest tower, a soft, perpetual azure light pulsed, a beacon of comfort and promise. It was the light of the wishes of every citizen of Roses, collected and safeguarded by their beloved king. 17-year-old Asha, however, was currently less concerned with the panoramic view and more with the stubborn goat standing between her and the palace gates. Saba, her grandfather's oldest and most opinionated goat, had decided the royal petunias were a far superior breakfast to the hay she'd brought. Saba, no, those are the royal petunias of potential, King Magnifico's personal favorite. Asha tugged on the rope, her dark curls bouncing with the effort. You'll get us both thrown into the dungeons of disillusion. Saba chewed leisurely, unimpressed. Asha's best friend, a perpetually anxious young man named Dahlia, wrung his hands nearby. Asha, we're going to be late for the apprenticeship announcement, and your goat is committing floral treason. With a final, mighty heave, Asha dislodged Saba from the flower bed and secured her to a less delicious-looking post. She straightened her simple tunic, brushed the goat hair from her skirt, and flashed Dahlia a grin. All part of the plan. Dahlia keeps life interesting. Life in Roses was beautiful, peaceful, and orderly. On their 18th birthday, every citizen presented their deepest, most heartfelt wish to King Magnifico in a grand ceremony. With a wave of his hands and a shimmer of his sapphire magic, he would draw the wish, a glowing, unique orb of light, from their hearts and place it in the vast, celestial dome of his tower. There, the wishes swirled in a majestic, slow-moving galaxy, safe from the corruption of doubt and the decay of time. The people, unburdened by the weight of their dreams, lived contented lives, trusting their wise and powerful king to know when, or if, the time was right to grant them. Asha's mother, Sakina, had given her wish to travel the world and paint its wonders years ago. Her grandfather, Sabino, the oldest man in Roses, had surrendered his wish to be a great playwright even longer ago. He was happy, he insisted, telling stories to anyone who would listen, though sometimes Asha caught him staring at the wish tower with a faraway look in his milky eyes. Asha, however, was a question in a kingdom of periods. She loved her home, but her mind was a whirlwind of whys and what-ifs. Why did the wishes have to be taken to be safe? What if someone's wish was needed now? Not in some ambiguous future? Her skepticism was a quiet, persistent hum, often drowned out by the kingdom's chorus of gratitude. Today was the day that hum threatened to become a roar. It was the annual apprenticeship announcement. King Magnifico would choose one talented individual to mentor in the royal arts and sciences. Asha, a gifted student with a keen mind for astronomy and a natural, intuitive magic that made plants bloom and small lights dance at her fingertips, was a prime candidate. More than that, she wanted it. She believed she could help, could maybe even find a better way to handle the wishes. She saw how her grandfather sometimes seemed lighter when telling an old story, as if remembering the wish itself, not just its absence. She wanted to understand. The throne room was packed, shimmering with anticipation. Magnifico stood on his dais, regal and radiant. His wife, Queen Amaya, elegant and serene, stood beside him. Asha's heart hammered against her ribs as Magnifico's gaze swept the crowd. And this year's royal apprentice, Magnifico's voice, smooth as honey and strong as oak, echoed through the hall, is Asha. The world exploded in sound and light. Dahlia squealed, Sakina wept with joy, Sabino beamed, his wrinkled face a map of pride. Asha floated to the dais, her dream seeming to crystallize before her. The celebration that night in their cozy, book-filled home was raucous, but as the moon rose, Sabino pulled Asha aside to the garden. Nipotina, he said, his voice soft, you will see things in that tower, wonderful, terrible things. Remember what I've always told you, a wish is not a memory, it is a living hope, it must be nurtured, not just stored. I'll remember, Nano, Asha promised, though his words felt heavier than she expected. Her first days as an apprentice were a blur of wonder. The palace library was a labyrinth of knowledge. She learned of astral alignments and architectural theory, but the heart of her studies was the Wish Tower. The first time Magnifico led her into the dome, Asha's breath caught. It was more magnificent than she could have imagined. Thousands of wishes swirled above, a silent symphony of light. A wish for musical talent glowed in cleft notes of gold. A wish for a child pulsed with soft, rosy warmth. A wish to fly was a shimmering azure ripple. Beautiful, isn't it? Magnifico said, his face illuminated by the otherworldly glow. Order, safety, I keep the chaos of unchecked desire at bay. I am the guardian of their hopes. He showed her the process. A citizen would present their wish. Magnifico would use his magic to gently extract it. A moment that looked both painful and cathartic for the person. The wish would join the cosmos above. I review them regularly, Magnifico explained, assessing their merit, their potential benefit to Rosas, the readiness of the wisher. Not all wishes are equal, my dear. Some are frivolous, some could be dangerous if granted rashly. Asha nodded, trying to quell her unease. It made logical sense. A kingdom couldn't run on every passing fancy. One afternoon, while organizing celestial charts, she found a forgotten ledger. It was a log of wishes, from decades past. Her eyes scanned the entries. Bartholomew, wished to be a master baker. Status, denied. Reason, existing baker sufficient. Alara, wished to find a lost love. Status, denied. Reason, emotionally destabilizing. Her blood ran cold. Denied? The people believed their wishes were waiting, in stasis, for the right moment. They didn't know they could be judged and dismissed. That evening, she worked up the courage to ask, Your Majesty, the wishes, are any ever denied? Magnifico, who was studying a complex magical diagram, went very still. The warm light in the room seemed to dim. He turned, his smile still in place, but it didn't reach his eyes. Asha, you've been digging. Denied is a harsh word. I safeguard. Some wishes are like weeds, they seem pretty but would choke the garden of our society. My magic, the security of Rosas, it requires discernment. You understand, don't you? It is a burden I bear so they don't have to. He sounded so reasonable, so pained. Asha apologized, blaming her curiosity, but the seed of doubt had sprouted into a thorny vine. A week later, Sabino fell ill. It was just a fever, but at his age, it was serious. Asha sat by his bed, clutching his hand. In a moment of lucidity, he looked at her, his eyes clouded but intense. My wish, Nipotina. I can almost remember the shape of it, the feeling. It was about stories, to make them live forever. He coughed, weakly. He'll never grant it. I see that now. He's afraid of them. Who's afraid? Nano? Magnifico, Sabino whispered. He's afraid of the wishes, of their power, of what they might become if they are free. The next day, desperate, Asha went to the Wish Tower alone. Using her apprentice key and a bit of her own nascent magic, she bypassed the locks. She stood under the swirling galaxy. Please, she whispered to the cosmos, my grandfather's wish. I need to see it. I need to give him that hope back. She closed her eyes, thinking of Sabino, his laughter, his tales, the smell of parchment and rosemary that always clung to him. She reached out with her magic, a simple, heartfelt pull. And something answered. A single wish, not glowing with serene blue like the others, but with a warm, golden light, streaked down from the highest orbit. It was smaller, but it felt alive. It zipped past her head, circled her twice like an excited hummingbird, and came to rest, quivering, in her cupped hands. It was Sabino's wish. She could feel it, the longing to weave tales so true they would outlast stone. But the feeling was different from what Magnifico described. It wasn't a passive orb, it vibrated with potential energy, and seeing it here, in her hands, she understood her grandfather's words. A wish wasn't just a dream, it was a seed. A sudden, glacial chill filled the tower, the blue light of the other wishes flickered. What have you done? King Magnifico stood in the doorway, his face a mask of thunderous betrayal. The kind, mentoring ruler was gone. In his place was a man whose eyes blazed with panic and fury. I just wanted to see it, Asha stammered, clutching the golden wish close. You stole from the kingdom's treasury, he roared. The air crackled with his power. You have no idea the chaos you've unleashed. That wish is unstable. It's been alone, festering. It's not unstable, it's alive, Asha shot back, her own fear turning to anger. You're not safeguarding them, you're hoarding them. You deny them and tell people to forget. Magnifico's composure shattered. Forget? Forget? A blast of blue energy shot from his hands, not at Asha, but at the golden wish. They should forget. Wishes are dangerous, foolish things. They lead to disappointment, to envy, to revolution. I saved this kingdom from that chaos centuries ago. I built this order, and I will not let a child with stars in her eyes destroy it. The blast connected. The golden wish didn't extinguish. Instead, it exploded in a silent supernova of light. And from that light, born from Sabino's denied dream and Asha's defiant hope, something fell. It was a ball of pure, white starlight, trailing a comet's tail of sparkles. It hit the floor with a soft plop, rolled twice, and unfolded. Two large, curious black eyes blinked open. It was a star, a very small, very confused, very alive star. It looked at Asha, then at the furious king, and let out a tiny, squeaky boop. Time froze. Magnifico stared, his rage momentarily eclipsed by utter bewilderment. The star, as Asha would later name him, was chaos incarnate. He zipped around the tower on a whim, bouncing off wish orbs with cheerful boing sounds, leaving trails of glittering stardust in his wake. Where the dust fell on the captive wishes, they glowed a fraction brighter, hummed a note clearer. He's reacting to the wishes, Asha breathed, her scientist's mind kicking in alongside her terror. He's contaminating the ecosystem, Magnifico snarled, firing another bolt. Star zipped away, the magic harmlessly dissipating against the wall. The star seemed to find this a delightful game. Guards, Magnifico bellowed. Asha didn't think. She scooped up Star, who snuggled into her arms with a contented purr, and ran. She fled the tower, down back staircases, through the kitchen gardens, and into the dark woods bordering Rosa's, Magnifico's enraged promises of retribution echoing behind her. That night, hidden in a hollow tree, Asha cried. Her dream was ashes. She was a traitor in her own home, and she had a magical star creature looking at her with utter, trusting adoration. What are you? She whispered. Star just nuzzled her hand. In his presence, her fear ebbed slightly. A strange, warm courage took its place, and an idea, wild and impossible, began to form. Magnifico's transformation was swift and absolute. The benevolent king was gone, replaced by a paranoid sovereign. He announced that a malign force had infiltrated Rosa's, threatening the wish security. He instituted curfews, doubled the guard, and his public appearances grew less frequent, his smile more strained. The blue light from the tower pulsed with a more aggressive, warning rhythm. Asha, from the shadows, watched her home become a gilded cage. She knew she had to act. Star was the key. His very nature seemed to be anti-Magnifico. Where the king suppressed, Star energized. Where the king controlled, Star inspired. She couldn't do it alone. Stealthily, she reached out to Dahlia, trusting him with her life. Terrified but loyal, he agreed to help. Next was Gaba, the cynical, Sarcacious teen who always saw the worst in everything but had a hidden streak of fierce protectiveness for his younger sister. Then Valentino, Asha's pet goat, Saba's more agreeable grandson, who followed her everywhere. To everyone's shock, Star floated over to Valentino, touched his nose, and with a shower of sparks, the goat spoke. "Well," Valentino said, his voice surprisingly dignified, "this is unprecedented." One by one, Asha gathered her allies: Simon, the strong man with a secret wish to be a poet; Safi, the shy girl who could talk to animals; Hal, the fix-it man who dreamed of invention. They were the doubters, the questioners, the ones whose wishes had always felt too big or too odd for Rosa's. They became her crew. Their plan was simple and insane: use Star's power to re-energize the wishes in the tower, to remind the people of what they had given up, and to expose Magnifico's deception. Star, it turned out, could amplify Asha's own latent magic. When she sang songs of hope, of memory, of dreams, and Star glowed in harmony, the effect was profound. A wilting flower would not just bloom, it would dance. A broken toy would not just fix itself, it would improve. And when they managed to get close enough to a citizen who had surrendered their wish, and Asha sang a song tailored to them, sometimes a faint echo of that wish would stir in their hearts. A baker would suddenly improvise a brilliant new recipe, a gardener would shape a topiary into a startlingly beautiful form. They were small acts of rebellion, but they were cracks in Magnifico's perfect facade. The king, sensing the shift, grew more desperate. He began using his magic not just to guard the wishes, but to actively suppress the people's capacity for new dreams. A grayness, a lethargy, began to seep through Rosa's. The vibrant markets grew quiet, the laughter of children became subdued. The final confrontation was inevitable. Magnifico, using a powerful scrying spell, tracked Asha and Star to an old, abandoned observatory on the outskirts of the kingdom. He arrived not with guards, but with Queen Amaya at his side, her face a conflict of loyalty and dawning horror. "This ends now, Asha," Magnifico said, his voice echoing in the dusty space. He no longer looked regal, he looked haunted, his robe slightly disheveled, his eyes burning with a desperate, blue fire. "Give me the star, it is a cosmic accident, a flaw, it will destroy everything I have built." "You built it on a lie," Asha shouted, Star a protective ball of light on her shoulder. "You built it on their forgotten hopes, look at them." She gestured wildly towards the palace, where the grey haze was most visible. "You're not protecting them, you're starving them." "I am saving them from the pain of failure," Magnifico screamed, the last vestige of his control snapping. "I know the pain of a wish denied." The air stilled, even Star stopped fidgeting. Magnifico's shoulders slumped, the blue fire in his eyes guttered, revealing centuries-old grief. "I was a young sorcerer," he said, the words torn from him. "My wish, my only wish, was to save my homeland from a plague. I poured every ounce of my magic, my being, into it, and I failed. They all died, everyone I loved." He looked at his hands, which had once been instruments of healing and were now tools of control. "I saw then the true nature of wishes. They are curses. They make you believe in a future that may never come, then leave you with ashes. Here, in Rosa's, I stopped the curse. I took the poison away." Asha understood then. Magnifico wasn't a villain out of malice, but out of a trauma so deep it had frozen his heart. He had built a beautiful prison to protect others from the world that had shattered him. "You took away the poison," Asha said, her voice softening but not wavering, "but you took away the medicine, too. A wish isn't a guarantee, it's a direction. It's the step you take, not the destination. My grandfather's wish wasn't to be a great playwright, it was to tell stories, and he does, every day. The wish didn't die when you took it, it lived in him, all along, you just made him forget to see it." She looked at Amaya, who had tears streaming down her face. "You, my queen, what was your wish?" Amaya's voice was a whisper: "To build a family, a home." She looked at Magnifico, heartbreak in her eyes. I thought we had." "You do," Asha insisted, "but he's been so afraid of losing it, he's been walling it off, just like the wishes." Magnifico shook his head, the grief hardening back into resolve. "Pretty words, but safety requires walls." He raised his hands, and this time, the magic he gathered was immense. A swirling vortex of blue energy aimed not at Asha, but at Star. It was a spell of unbinding, designed to dissipate a magical creature into nothingness. "No," Asha cried. She threw herself in front of Star, but she knew her magic was no match for his. Star, however, had other ideas. He didn't cower, he zoomed forward, not away from the blast, but into it. He didn't try to counter it with force. Instead, he began to glow with his pure, warm, golden white light. He began to hum, a sound like a lullaby mixed with a symphony, the sound of a heartbeat and a shooting star. And he sang. It wasn't with words, but with pure emotion. He sang of Sabino's stories, of Dahlia's loyalty, of Valentino's newfound voice, of Simon's secret poems. He sang of Sakina's paintings left unfinished, of the baker's dream recipes, of the gardener's hidden artistry. He sang of every small, stubborn, hopeful dream that had ever flickered in Rosa's, both the ones in the tower and the ones that had stubbornly lived on in secret. His song was a wave, and Magnifico's blast of control was a wall. When they met, there was no explosion. There was a revelation. Star's light traveled up the beam of Magnifico's magic, not fighting it, but illuminating it, and in that light, Magnifico saw. He saw the memories he had locked away, not just of his failure, but of the love that had come before it. He saw Amaya smile the day they met. He saw the grateful faces of his people when he first built Rosa's, not as a prison, but as a refuge. He saw that his wish to save his homeland hadn't been a curse. His love for it had been real and beautiful, and the grief of its loss was the proof of that love, not its negation. The blue vortex of his magic dissolved into a shower of harmless sparks. Magnifico fell to his knees, not in defeat, but in release. Centuries of bottled-up sorrow and fear poured out of him in silent, shaking sobs. Amaya rushed to his side, holding him. The gray haze over Rosa's began to lift, as if a morning sun was breaking through a long night. But the work wasn't done. The wishes were still trapped. Asha walked to the center of the observatory, Star resting in her hair like a living diadem. She looked out the broken dome towards the palace, towards the tower that was now glowing with a frantic, confused blue. She thought of her grandfather, of her mother, of every person in Rosa's walking around with a silent chamber in their heart. She closed her eyes, drew on every ounce of her hope, her love for her home, and her belief in the power of a dream not as a demand, but as a guide, and she sang. She sang the song she had been writing in her heart her whole life, a song of questions that were also answers, of memories that were also futures, of wishes that were not weights, but wings. Star's light erupted from her, a pillar of pure gold shooting into the sky. It arced over Rosa's and struck the wish tower. For a moment, nothing, then, the entire tower shone from within, not with Magnifico's uniform blue, but with 1,000 different colors, a cacophony of silent music. The dome didn't shatter, it bloomed, like a flower opening to the sun. The roof spiraled open. And the wishes, one by one, began to fly. They streamed out of the tower like a reverse meteor shower, ribbons of light painting the dawn sky. They swirled over the waking kingdom, each seeking its source. The golden wish for music found its way to a young woman stirring a pot, who suddenly heard a symphony in the clatter of spoons. The rosy wish for a child flew to a couple embracing on a balcony, filling them with a renewed, joyful certainty. The azure wish to die bombed a young man staring at the sky, who suddenly sketched a brilliant flying machine design in the dust. In the town square, Sabino, leaning on Sakina for support, watched the spectacle. A single, familiar strand of golden light, brighter than all the rest, descended slowly towards him. It didn't enter his chest, it hovered before him, pulsing gently. He reached out a trembling hand, not to take it, but to touch it. As his fingers brushed the light, his eyes, clouded by age and forgetfulness, cleared. He didn't get his youth back. He didn't become a famous playwright, but he remembered the feeling, the burning need to tell a story that mattered. A smile, the most genuine Asha had ever seen, spread across his face. He turned to Sakina. "I have a new story," he said, his voice strong. "It's about my granddaughter, and a very brave little star." Back in the observatory, the transformation was complete. Magnifico, helped to his feet by Amaya, looked older, weary, but the frantic fear in his eyes was gone, replaced by a weary, dawning peace. He looked at Asha, at the star now nestled happily in her hands. "The wishes are free," he said, as if trying to comprehend it. "They were always free," Asha replied gently, "they just needed to be remembered." Rosa's did not descend into chaos. There was no rampant envy or destructive desire. Instead, a new energy buzzed through the kingdom. People talked to each other, not just about the weather, but about their dreams. Collaboration sparked. The baker and the inventor worked on a self-kneading oven. The gardener and the musician planned a symphony of scents and sounds. The kingdom was no longer a silent museum of hopes, but a vibrant workshop of possibilities. Magnifico and Amaya abdicated, not in disgrace, but in recognition that a new era needed new guardians, they retired to a quiet villa by the sea, where Magnifico, slowly, began to rediscover magic not as a tool of control, but of creation, starting with a single, perfect seashell for his wife. The people, in a unanimous and joyful decision, asked Asha to lead, not as a queen, but as a guide, a wish facilitator. Her first act, with Star's cheerful assistance, was to transform the now open Wish Tower into the Grand Athenaeum, a place of learning, sharing, and nurturing dreams. The wishes were not collected, but recorded, their stories told and their paths supported. One evening, Asha stood on the balcony of the Athenaeum, now her home. Below, roses glittered with 1,000 different lights, lanterns, hearth fires, and the soft glow of people working late on projects they loved. Star floated beside her, humming a quiet, contented tune. Dahlia approached, holding a stack of star charts. "The alignment for the new telescope is perfect tonight," he said, no longer anxious, but excited. Valentino trotted up, a scroll in his mouth. "The proposals for the story festival, Madam Facilitator, your grandfather's is, unsurprisingly, the longest." Asha laughed, the sound mingling with Star's hum. She looked at the sky, no longer a ceiling keeping wishes in, but an infinite canvas of inspiration. Her own wish had never been to rule, or even to be an apprentice. It had been to understand, to help, to make things better. And as she looked at her friends, at her thriving home, at the little star that had fallen into her hands and changed everything, she realized with a jolt of pure, undiluted joy. Her wish, too, had finally come true.